no matter who wins this one, people will be writing that this may have been the best Super Bowl of all time.
When pro football history is made, NFL Films is there. It's what we live for. We're fans as much as we are filmmakers, but the film community has accepted us just the same. In 2003, the American Film Institute's Documentary Festival included a tribute to NFL films. It was held at the AFI's theater in Washington, D.C., where they replayed some classic moments from our film library. Now, usually, I'm the one asking the questions, but on this night, I sat down with David Moranis, the Pulitzer Prize-winning author of When Pride Still Mattered, the biography of Vince Lombardi.
I thought we'd start where sort of our two worlds connect, the world of Lombardi and the world of NFL films. Lombardi often said that football wasn't a contact sport, it was a collision sport. You know, that it really was a sport built on violence. And when you're watching football in a normal TV game, you don't really feel it. And even way up in the stands, you don't feel it. But when you're on the sidelines, or in the game, of course, you see what that really is like. And the only other place that I think you really see that is on NFL films. And it's because of your cinematographers.
Well, they're really unique in that on television, if you see a cameraman, he always has a headset. And I started out as a cameraman, and I found that really distracting. So when I started to direct, I said, we're going to eliminate that. And each one of our cameramen is, in essence, his own director. Wow. He's set out onto the field. We have a little meeting before, and each one comes back with his own vision of the game. And I always liken it to something I read about Teddy Roosevelt before the charge up San Juan Hill. He told his Rough Riders, he said, do what you can with what you have where you are. And that's the way our cinematographers work. And we did a film a couple of years ago where I got a bunch of them, and we just sat down and started talking, and I thought it'd be interesting if we show that clip here.
I think that's true of NFL films, that there's sort of a certain tradition or a certain knowledge that's passed around that everybody shares.
That's always a good shot. If you're right on the goal line, and especially if it's inside the 10, they'll be lunging for the touchdown. If you're right there on the end line, a lot of times you'll get a crucial shot of whether or not his body's broken the plane of the end zone or not.
You pick up little things from each guy here and there. Donnie Marks taught me, go with eyes. He sat me down one day and he says, look into their eyes. Sometimes it'll help you rather than following the ball.
That's why this is the NFL. They don't call these games because of weather. You play no matter what.
If you're NFL films, our credo is you pray for the bad weather. When you sit around and you look at the great shots of NFL films, there's snow in the air, there's sleeting rain coming down, and you pray for those moments. And so when we go out to a game and it starts to get nasty, we're just almost like this. I think the greatest games we've ever covered are in terrible weather conditions because it actually motivates us.
Steve, when one cameraman said that they pray for bad weather, I don't know if you pray for 17 below.
No.
You were a cameraman at the Ice Bowl, right? What was that?
And I remember, well, of course, those days you couldn't winterize the equipment. And the weather, now the equipment's winterized, Kodak has film that doesn't crack, but in those days that was the worst thing that could happen. And that morning, I remember my father and I were staying at the Northland Hotel. My dad had a thing about we had to get to the stadium early. Game started at 1, we had to be there at like 7. So we got a wake-up call at 5:30, and the phone rings, I pick it up, it says, "Good morning, Mr. Sabol. The wind is out of the north. It's 17 degrees below zero. Have a nice day. That's all my dad had to hear. He had diarrhea. The rest of he had the runs. He was so nervous. But going out to the stadium, the lumberjack band, had been out on the field. And we were walking around out there, we thought they'd been in a fight because all their lips were all bloody. But what had happened, they were practicing, and it was so cold that the metal stuck to their lips, and they never even had a halftime. But the thing I guess I remember most is the final drive. It was Packers were 68 yards away against the doomsday defense. And I had that sense there, this could be Lombardi's ultimate statement. Everything he stood for as a coach would be epitomized in this one drive. And my camera had frozen. And I had this big lens like this, so I had to pick up the tripod and move it down the field. And after they got about the 40, that didn't work. And the sense of frustration I had as a historian, watching history unfold before my eyes and knowing that I wasn't doing anything. And I'm looking around to see if our other cameramen, if they're shooting. But I realized I couldn't shoot anymore, and I just walked up to the sideline and just watched them go down the field for that drive. And I remember every single play. And of course, Bart's.
So do I.
Yeah. Well, you covered in the book, but that still to me is the greatest game in NFL history.
The thing that I love about NFL films are the players' words when they're really in action. I remember the first one I ever remembered was The Violent World of Sam Hoffman.
Right.
That it sort of went from there, where you'd start miking Lombardi and players and everything like that. How did that start, and how did it go?
Well, Dave, we had some really big problems with that in the beginning, just because the equipment was so crude. And the first coach that we mic'd was Joe Q. Herrick of the Eagles, and it was he wouldn't let us do it in a regular game. We had to do it. It was called the Playoff Bowl at that time. It was after the World Championship game in 1965. It was the two runner-ups from the East and West, and played sort of a meaningless game.
Lombardi had a profane name for that. So he played in it once.
What did he call it?
The Bowl.
That's right. He played the Cardinals. I think he got beat too, didn't he?
He hated that game.
Well, we convinced Joe to wear a mic, and for that game. And the problem we had is that we didn't realize that the integrity of the frequency wasn't protected. So when we put the mic on him, and I'm shooting from across the field, we picked up the Biscayne Bay Maritime Commission. So you hear Joe Q. Herrick calling a play, and then you hear this other voice say, well, the tuna are out here biting on the outside of Biscayne Bay, and we got some marlin here.
See where that flag is going?
Yeah.
So that means you're going to have to keep that ball to the right a little bit, see? Come on, go back, don't do that! Punting team, punting team, punting team.
So that didn't work. We got a little bit out of that, and then the next year we thought we had it perfected, and we went up to do Coach Lombardi. But the problem there, we intersected with a taxi dispatcher. So it was, a woman here is in the corner of 3rd and Main. Could you please pick her up? So it was a couple years before we got it perfected. But the problem we have now when you mic a player is that, first of all, most of the players wear mouthpieces. So when they're talking, it's a lot. So most of what they say is unintelligible. That which is intelligible, you know where I'm going with this. Whatever's intelligible, for the most part, is incomprehensible because they're talking in code. 24, toss, power, trap, XYZ, eagle, flush. So you don't know what that is. So the little that's left that is comprehensible and is intelligible is profane. So we might put a mic on a player for a whole game and end up with about 1 minute of usable sound. The coaches are really the best ones because football, like making movies, is a director's medium, and the coach is he's a consensus gatherer, he's a directional compass, he's a mood shifter. So when you put a mic on a coach, you're really going to get the whole range of everything that happens, and that's the next clip we wanted to show, is some of our best bites from some of the coaches.
Joy to the world. Joy.
I like that old time rock and roll. I like that old time rock and roll.
High formation. High formation. Quick 141. High formation, quick 141.
We might as well run it.
Let's run the Bummerooski. Huh? Run the Bummerooski. Bummerooski. Sideline.
Hey, Daniels, what the hell you doing out there? You gotta run up the goddamn football field. Don't dance around. That's horrible. I could get some girl to do that. Those girls on the sidelines can dance.
Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody tackling. Just grabbing, everybody. Grab. Nobody tackling.
Don't let them hold you.
Yes, sir.
Don't let them hold you.
They're killing me, Whitey. They're killing me.
Boy, the gears in that guy's mind didn't mesh for a long time, I'll tell you that.
You misplaced the line of scrimmage, you bunch of dummies.
This isn't college. You're not at a home conference.
I understand.
This is NFL, which stands for not for long when you make them calls.
Well,
I'll be selling groceries.
Mr. Official, let me ask you something. How can 6 of you miss a play like that, huh? All 6 of you. The ball jumped out of there as soon as we made contact, and nobody... I thought you were talking about you being on the field. No. What?
I love that one, Steve. I can watch that one all night. I mean, some of those lines are like the great iconic lines.
Well, the Hank Stram is, you know, when the mic, we mic'd him there, that was a Super Bowl. Yeah. That had never been done before, Super Bowl IV. And my dad and I went up to Hank's hotel room, and, you know, Hank, you know, he had a suite, like they had a whole top of the Sonesta Hotel in New Orleans. Hank used to be really concerned about the way he looked, so he wore like under his suit, he had like a scuba diving vest or something, you know, to keep his, you know, stomach in.
A girdle.
And we went up to him and taught. My dad said, you know, Coach Stram, we'd like to put a mic on you for the game. You know, it'd be great for history and for the good of the sport. And the first thing that Hank said, he said, okay, he says, is any coin in the realm going to exchange hands?
What?
And that's what I said. You know, what is that? You know, and he says, boys, dead presidents. The mentor, that's what he called himself. The mentor says the mentor does not wear a mic unless a coin of the realm or there's some dead presidents. So what we realized was that, you know, Hank wanted to be paid. So, well, it ended up where we paid him $1,000, and I just saw Hank came out with a book where he says he tells a story, and he says he did it for the good of the game, which is he conveniently omitted the fact that he negotiated with us. But when we shot that, if you look closely at that film when it's shown on ESPN, you see when Hank starts to talk that it starts to chatter. And that was me shooting it, and I was laughing so hard. It was like having Henny Youngman, you know, coach a Super Bowl team.
How much were they playing to you, do you think? Were they acting out a little bit?
Lenny Dawson said that that's the way Hank was all the time. But he said he seemed a little more talkative, and especially as the game went on and he realized he was going to win, that the level of chatter went up. But Hank was just that. That was really his personality.
Well, I hope Bill Parcells wasn't trying out for American Idol when he was singing.
Come on, Lenny. Pump it in there, baby. Just keep matriculating the ball down the field, boys.
So you make the story, and then you do the score, and then the words, or what's the...
It works. Everybody has a different way. I would look at everything first, and then I would write it. And then the editing is really when you're taking the raw vision of the cameraman, and you've got to shape it, and you've got to decide what stays in and what stays out. And there's a big difference between being a documentary filmmaker and a Hollywood filmmaker, because when you're editing a Hollywood film, you're really inventing, you're creating. When you're editing a documentary, you're discovering. John Ford, who was the great director, did all the, you know, She Wore Yellow Ribbon and Red River and The Searchers. He directed a film in such a way that he didn't need an editor. He shot it in a certain way that when it was finished, he would just walk away and it had to be edited this certain way. But the way we make films is we take all these images, then the editor sits down and creates the story. We have some good examples of some editing coming up. One is an example of an editor taking all this different sound and really taking something that's very familiar and looking at it in an unfamiliar way.
Hey man, you guys got Playland down there. You see all those machines you guys got down there? That's like the Jet Fest 2 over there at the defensive line. Come on, everybody get it going here, man. Let's get it going this morning.
You get your rhythm, it'll work out.
Atta brave bad brad banta. What'd you say?
Atta brave brad banta.
That's way too much noise there.
Say again.
Atta brave.
Oh baby.
Atta brave brad banta. Wow.
Oh. Close the horn.
Hit it now, Dave.
Blow it.
Here we go. Back it up. Hey, let's go. Pop around. Here we go. Tweet. Not bad, not bad. Tag him up, tag him up. On the line. Blow the horn. That's better, that's better. Jump up right there. Well done. Jump. Stay up off the ground, please. Atta brave. Oh, baby. Atta babe, pop around. Atta babe, Brad Banta. Whoa. Atta brave, jump on. Hey, let's go. Not bad. Atta babe, pop around. Got to go.
I can never understand a word you're saying.
The second one is a really strange piece that we came up with that was really built on the editing, because we noticed that, during a football game, everybody once in a while gets slapped on the butt. And we saw, and one of our producers came up with an idea. I think I could come up with a whole piece. I said, oh, you can't do that. Well, you'll see what he came up with.
In the NFL, there are many ways to celebrate a big play. Perhaps none weirder than the slap on the butt.
I don't think nothing better than a good butt slap.
Butt slap. Smack.
Slap. Swat to the rear.
And they slap hard.
Butt slapper.
Butt tapper.
Padding on the butt. Quick pop. Whack. Bang. Ooh. If we have to sit down and start talking about what we're actually doing, it doesn't sound good.
What is the significance of a butt slap? When somebody butt slaps you, what is that saying to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have no idea. Because it's not the most masculine thing. Hey, your buddy, you pat him right on the butt.
It's natural, it's common, and it's just what football players do. It's like a baseball player that adjusts himself on the other side.
It's good bonding. That's what you do, you butt slap.
And in the dossier of the derriere, there are many techniques to tapping the tuchus.
There are several techniques. You can go with the palm of your hand, or you can go with the back of your hand. Yeah, either way is good.
I think every time I do it, instead of always trying to do it with my palm, I try to just slap him on the back side of it. And I give him that quick pop. Yeah, I'm a backhander. Good job.
The back of the hand is not the technique that I favor. I favor the front, the palm. But you don't cup. You never cup, because a guy could get the wrong idea about you if you cup. And you never squeeze, never, ever, ever squeeze, because there'll probably be a fight right there on the field if you ever squeeze. So just stiffen your hand, nice little slap, and then maybe two sometimes, depending on how good he did on that play. But always remember, never cup, never squeeze, and you'll be safe with the butt slap.
So when someone asks you what you learned at the Documentary Film Festival, never cup and never squeeze. That's great. I guess with great writing, there's sort of three essential elements. One is the action, which you have in abundance. Another is the theme. And the third is character.
The last clip we have is about George Allen, and it's a documentary we did a year ago, and he was such a great subject because, as you said, David, he was so complex. Plus, his daughter gave it such an interesting point of view that, and this was before her book came out. I think it was one of the most interesting documentaries we've done on a coach, and that's what we wanted to look at next.
Where were you, and how do you remember when you were notified that your dad had died?
I had a friend who met me outside of a yoga class on New Year's Eve in New York City, and he told me my dad had died. And my initial reaction was, my dad can't die. And at that moment, visually, the whole world changed for me. And I realized that what I was living before had been a dream, and then now I was in hyper-reality. When I went to the funeral, I'd never been to a funeral before, if you can imagine that. I was 30 years old and I'd never been to a funeral. There was something wonderful about somebody dying who's close to you in the sense that it purifies you. Suddenly, I became very honest and wanted to look at everything, and I really wanted to find out who my dad was. Who was this man? Who was this man who was my father but was also this legend? Thus, I started undertaking the writing of the book. He had asked me to help him write his autobiography a few years before he died, and I said I couldn't be his ghostwriter. Well, as soon as he died, I was like, okay, Dad.
Jennifer Allen began working in her late father's office, researching the career of a man for whom the circle of life meant only football. Jennifer hoped in writing the book she could feel closer to her father, even though he was gone.
My mom and I went to the ladies' room before the service was about to begin. We were looking in the mirror, and one of us said, I feel like I'm going to a Redskin game. And the other one said, so do I. It was that same sense of purpose and urgency, and that what you were about to do is life and death. And that's when I really realized that really we believed everything that he said, and we lived the life as he said it, which was that winning is living and losing is dying.
I once wrote on the blackboard that a loser is dead and doesn't know it.
And that a funeral could feel as intense as a football game. It's pretty incredible. It's a lot of emotion.
Jennifer once found a note her father had written in the margin of a playbook. It read, "In my heart, this is my life." It was a life George Allen lived and loved to the fullest.
That's a perfect way to end it. That image of George Allen doing that little jig in the locker room is sort of the...
When you see that piece, it reminds me of why I love this business so much. There's a poem by Emily Dickinson, and the end of it is that there are two ways of spreading light. You can be the flame or the mirror that reflects it. And the players of the National Football League have been the flame, and NFL Films has been privileged to reflect that.